How to speak English fluently without fear. Have you ever wanted to speak English with confidence? But the moment you try to speak, your mind suddenly goes blank? You know what you want to say. You know the words. You may even understand English when other people speak. But when it is your turn to talk, you become nervous. You start thinking, what if I make a mistake? What if my pronunciation is wrong? What if they laugh at me? What if I forget the words? And because of these thoughts, you stay silent. Maybe you understand English videos, movies, and podcasts. Maybe you can read English quite well. But speaking feels completely different. And sometimes you may think, maybe I'm just not good at English. But listen carefully. That is not true. You are not necessarily bad at English. You may simply be afraid of making mistakes. And this fear can become stronger every time you avoid speaking. The less you speak, the more nervous you become. The more nervous you become, the more you avoid speaking. And the cycle continues. But today we're going to break that cycle. Because here's the truth. You don't need perfect English to speak English. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need to know thousands of difficult words. And you definitely don't need to wait until you're ready. You can start with the English you already know. You can make mistakes. You can speak slowly. You can pause. You can search for words. And you can still have a real conversation. Think about a child learning their first language. A child doesn't wait until they understand grammar rules. They don't memorize thousands of vocabulary words before saying their first sentence. They simply try. They say a word. They make a mistake. They try again. They listen. They repeat. And slowly, they become better. You can learn English in the same way. So, in today's lesson, we're going to learn how to become more confident when speaking English. You'll learn how to stop being afraid of mistakes. How to stop translating every sentence in your head. How to practice speaking alone. And how to make English feel more natural. And don't worry if you're a beginner. I'll speak slowly and clearly. You can listen, repeat, and practice with me. So take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. And forget about being perfect. For the next few minutes, just focus on one thing. Speaking English. Because fluency doesn't begin when your English becomes perfect. Fluency begins when you stop being afraid to speak. Let's begin. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons people are afraid to speak English. The fear of making mistakes. Maybe you know this feeling. You are talking to someone in English. You have an idea in your mind. You know what you want to say. But suddenly, you start checking your grammar. Is this sentence correct? Should I use do or does? Is this the right tense? Am I pronouncing this word correctly? And while you're thinking about all these things, the conversation keeps moving. The other person is waiting. You become nervous. You forget the sentence. And finally you say nothing. This happens to many English learners. But here's the problem. If you always wait for perfect English, you may never feel ready to speak. Because perfection is impossible. Even native English speakers make mistakes. They sometimes forget words. They sometimes change their sentences. They sometimes pronounce words incorrectly. They sometimes say something and immediately correct themselves. So why should you expect yourself to speak perfectly? You shouldn't. Your goal should not be, I must speak perfect English. Your goal should be, I want people to understand me. That is a much better goal. Let's imagine you're at a coffee shop. You want a cup of coffee. You could say, excuse me, would it be possible for you to provide me with a cup of coffee? That's correct. But you don't need to speak like that. You can simply say, can I have a coffee, please? That's it. Simple. Clear. Natural. And the other person understands you. That's successful communication. You don't need complicated vocabulary to sound intelligent. Sometimes, the simplest sentence is the best sentence. For example, instead of saying, I am experiencing considerable difficulty understanding this particular situation, you can simply say, I don't understand this. Both sentences communicate the same basic idea. But the second one is much easier. And when you're learning English, easy is good. Don't be ashamed of simple English. Simple English is the foundation of fluent English. Think about building a house. You don't start with the roof. You start with the foundation. English is the same. First, learn simple sentences. Then learn useful phrases. Then learn how to connect your ideas. And slowly, your English becomes more advanced. So, from today, I want you to change one question in your mind. Don't ask, was my English perfect? Did the other person understand me? If they understood you, that's a success. If you made a small grammar mistake but communicated your idea, that's still a success. If you forgot one word but explained it another way, that's a success too. Because speaking English is not an exam. It's communication. Let's say you forget the word umbrella. You want to tell someone, bring your umbrella. But you can't remember the word. Don't freeze. Don't stop. You can say, bring the thing you use when it rains. Maybe the sentence isn't perfect, but the person understands what you mean. That's communication. And this is an extremely important skill. When you don't know a word, don't give up. Explain it using words you already know. For example, maybe you forget the word pharmacy. You can say, the place where you buy medicine. Maybe you forget the word expensive. You can say, it costs a lot of money. Maybe you forget the word exhausted. You can say, I'm very, very tired. You don't need to know every word. You need to know how to keep the conversation moving. And the more you practice this, the less afraid you become. Now let's practice something together. I'm going to give you a sentence. Listen first. Then repeat it. I don't speak perfect English, but I can communicate. Now you. I don't speak perfect English, but I can communicate. I don't speak perfect English, but I can communicate. Excellent. Now say, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And one more. Every mistake helps me improve. Very good. These aren't just English sentences. They're reminders. Because your mindset matters. If you think, I must never make mistakes, you will become afraid to speak. But if you think, mistakes are part of learning, you become free to practice. And when you practice more, you improve more. When you improve more, your confidence grows. And when your confidence grows, speaking becomes easier. So don't wait until your English is perfect. Don't wait until you know every grammar rule. Don't wait until you have a perfect accent. Start with what you know right now. Maybe today you can speak 5 sentences. Tomorrow, maybe 10. Next week, maybe you can speak for 5 minutes. And after a few months, you may be surprised by how far you've come. Remember, you don't become confident and then start speaking. You start speaking, and then you become confident. So make mistakes. Speak slowly. Use simple words. Correct yourself when necessary. And most importantly, keep talking. Stop translating in your head. Now let's talk about another big problem that can make speaking English difficult. Translating everything in your head. Maybe you know exactly what you want to say. But before you speak, you think in your native language first. Then you translate that thought into English. For example, someone asks, what did you do yesterday? You know the answer, but your brain starts working. First, you think about the answer in your own language. Then you search for the English words. Then you think about grammar. Then you wonder, is this sentence correct? And while you're doing all of that, the conversation is waiting for you. This can make you feel slow and nervous. But don't worry, this is normal for English learners. The good news is that you can train your brain to think more directly in English. And you don't need to start with complicated thoughts. Start with very small thoughts. For example, when you wake up in the morning, don't immediately translate everything. Try to think, I'm awake. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I need some water. I need coffee. It's cold today. These sentences are very simple, but they are powerful practice. When you walk into your room, think, my room is clean. Or, I need to clean my room. When you look outside, it's sunny. It's raining. The sky is cloudy. When you are getting ready, where are my keys? I need my phone. I'm ready to go. You are training your brain to connect everyday thoughts directly to English. Instead of idea native language English, you want to slowly create Idea English. That's the goal. And don't worry if it feels difficult at first. Your brain has been using your native language for a long time. You can't change that in one day. You need repetition. Think about learning to drive. At first, you have to think about everything. Where is the brake? Where is the accelerator? When should I turn? When should I slow down? But after enough practice, you don't think about every little movement. It becomes automatic. Speaking English can become automatic in the same way. At first, you may think, what should I say? What's the grammar? Is this word correct? But after enough practice, your brain starts producing familiar English phrases automatically. That's why everyday English practice is so important. You don't always need a textbook. You can practice English while doing normal things. While making breakfast, describe what you're doing. I'm making breakfast. I'm making eggs. The water is boiling. I need some salt. While cleaning, I'm cleaning my room. This table is dirty. I need to put this away. While working, I have a lot of work today. I need to finish this. I'm taking a short break. While going outside, I'm going to the store. The weather is nice. There are a lot of people outside. This may feel strange in the beginning. You might even feel silly talking to yourself. But remember, you are practicing. And you don't need anyone else to practice with you. Your room can become your classroom. Your daily routine can become your English lesson. Your thoughts can become your speaking practice. Here's another useful exercise. Before you go to sleep tonight, spend 2 minutes thinking about your day in English. Today I woke up at 7. I had breakfast. Then I went to work. I talked to my friend. I had lunch. In the evening, I watched a movie. Now I'm going to sleep. Don't worry about advanced grammar. Don't worry about difficult vocabulary. Just tell yourself the story of your day. And if you don't know a word, don't immediately switch to your native language. Try to explain the idea using simple English. For example, maybe you don't remember the word refrigerator. Instead of stopping, the machine in the kitchen that keeps. Final part. You can speak English without fear. So, let's bring everything together. Maybe you've been learning English for months. Maybe you've watched hundreds of English videos. Maybe you've memorized vocabulary. Maybe you've studied grammar. But there's still one thing stopping you from becoming a confident speaker. Fear of mistakes. Fear of being judged. Fear of forgetting words. Fear of having an accent. Fear that your English isn't good enough. But today, I want you to remember something very important. You don't have to be perfect to speak English. You only have to be willing to try. Your first conversation may not be perfect. You may forget words. You may use the wrong tense. You may pronounce something incorrectly. And that's okay. Because every time you speak, you're training your brain. Every mistake teaches you something. Every conversation makes you a little stronger. And every time you choose to speak instead of staying silent, your confidence grows. So don't wait for perfect English. Don't wait until you know every grammar rule. Don't wait until your accent sounds like a native speaker. Start now. Start with simple sentences. Start with the English you already know. You can say, my name is, I live in, I like, I don't like, I think, I want to, I need to. In my opinion, these simple phrases can take you surprisingly far. And remember the most important rule. Don't translate everything. Try to think in English. When you wake up, describe your morning. When you eat, describe your food. When you're working, describe what you're doing. When you're outside, describe what you see. When you're alone, talk to yourself. Just 5 minutes a day can make a difference if you do it consistently. And when you forget a word, don't stop. Explain it. Use another word. Use a simple sentence. Keep the conversation moving. Because fluency isn't about knowing every word. Fluency is about knowing how to keep going. Now, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Not a huge promise. Just a simple one. Promise yourself that you will speak English every day. Maybe for 5 minutes. Maybe for 10 minutes. Maybe while you're walking. Maybe while you're cooking. Maybe while you're sitting in your room. It doesn't matter where you practice. What matters is that you practice. And don't judge yourself too quickly. Your English today doesn't have to be perfect. It only has to be better than yesterday. So let's practice one final time together. Repeat after me. I am learning English. First, I don't need to be perfect. First, I am not afraid of mistakes. First, mistakes help me improve. First, I can speak slowly and clearly. First, I can communicate in English. First, and finally, I will speak English without fear. Excellent. Say it one more time. I will speak English without fear. Remember that sentence. Because your English journey isn't about becoming perfect overnight. It's about becoming a little better every single day. One new word, one useful phrase, one conversation, one mistake, one small improvement, and then another, and another, until one day, something amazing happens. You start speaking English without thinking about every single word. You start answering questions naturally. You start understanding conversations faster. You stop worrying about every little mistake. And you realize, I'm actually speaking English. That moment will come. But you have to keep going. So keep listening. Keep repeating. Keep thinking in English. Keep practicing. And most importantly, keep speaking. Your accent doesn't make you less intelligent. Your mistakes don't make you less capable. And your current English level doesn't define your future. You are learning. You are improving. And you are getting closer every day. So the next time you feel nervous about speaking English, take a breath, smile, and speak anyway. Because confidence doesn't come from waiting. Confidence comes from action. You don't need to feel confident before you speak. Speak first. Confidence will follow. Thank you so much for listening to today's English podcast. If this lesson helped you, keep practicing with us. Listen again. Repeat the sentences. Speak out loud. And never be afraid of making mistakes. Because every time you speak, you are one step closer to fluency. Keep learning. Keep speaking. Keep improving. And remember, your English doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to be brave enough to use it. See you in the next episode.